They never saw it coming. Not the pain, not the betrayal, not the failure. But what they didn't see coming even more was the comeback. And it wasn't loud. It wasn't flashy. It started with a shift, a silent decision, a whisper to the self. From now on, I will act as if everything always works out for me. And that whisper, it changed everything. Because what if that's the key you've been missing? What if the way you think, the way you walk, the way you respond to setbacks is the very thing deciding how your life unfolds? What if the universe, life, God himself, is just responding to the attitude you project every single day? Let's face it, most people walk through life preparing to lose, preparing for heartbreak, anticipating failure, and that's exactly what they get. They expect disappointment, and it never fails to arrive right on time. But those rare few, the ones who seem untouchable, unfazed, unshakable, they're playing a different game. They're not naive. They're not lucky. They've trained themselves to believe something so powerful it bends reality, that everything is happening for them, not to them. That mindset, it's not delusion, it's transformation. And today you're going to learn how to live it. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. The law of assumption is one of the most powerful principles shaping your life, whether you're aware of it or not. It suggests that whatever you assume to be true, whatever you consistently expect, believe in, or accept as a fact, eventually becomes your lived experience. It's not magic, it's mental alignment. Your assumptions determine your actions, your energy, your tone, and the way you move through the world. If you assume that everything always works out for you, you behave in a way that reflects certainty, peace, and trust. That behavior influences how others respond to you, how you respond to challenges, and how you recognize and create opportunities. Most people walk around with the assumption that things will go wrong. They might not say it out loud, but their thoughts are laced with doubt. They approach new opportunities with hesitation, constantly preparing for disappointment. They try to protect themselves from the fall by never fully leaping. And so they live in a loop where their low expectations manifest as low outcomes, which then reinforce their original assumption. It becomes a cycle of limitation, and it's all driven by unconscious beliefs. On the other hand, those who live with the assumption that things work out for them, even if they don't know how or when, begin to experience life through a very different lens. They move with boldness. They pursue goals with a calm assurance. When something goes wrong, they don't spiral. They shift quickly into curiosity instead of panic, asking, what's this leading me toward? This mindset keeps them from freezing in fear or giving up when obstacles appear. It keeps them moving forward even when logic says they should quit. The power of assumption also lies in how it rewires your brain. Your subconscious mind does not argue with you. It simply responds to repetition and emotion. If you repeatedly feed it the assumption that things never work out, it collects and amplifies every negative event as proof. But if you start feeding it the idea that everything works out for me, even in the smallest daily decisions, your brain begins filtering your experiences through that lens. Suddenly, you start noticing things aligning in your favor, even if it's just finding a parking space or catching a green light. Over time, those micro experiences build trust in the belief itself. Acting as if everything always works out for you doesn't mean you live in denial or ignore problems. It means that you choose to live from a state of faith rather than fear. You accept that challenges will arise, but you assume you'll overcome them. You trust that behind every no is a better yes. You carry yourself with the energy of someone who believes life is not just random chaos, but a strategic journey leading you toward your best self. And that belief influences the way you speak, the way you prepare, and the way you recover from setbacks. When you truly adopt the assumption that everything is always working out for you, you start acting differently. You apply for jobs or pitches with more confidence. You enter relationships with more self-respect. You take risks, not recklessly, but with the grounded belief that regardless of the outcome, it will benefit you. Even when things don't go according to your plan, you don't crumble, you adapt. Expecting something greater to emerge from the disruption. People around you sense this. They respond to your energy. They're drawn to your stability, your optimism, your faith. And that further reinforces your assumption that life is unfolding in your favor. Your energy is the silent language you speak before you open your mouth. It's the invisible frequency you carry into every room, conversation, and decision. And the truth is, life doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to the energy you give off. When you act as if everything works out for you, your energy becomes calm, certain, and magnetic. That inner confidence radiates outward and shapes how people treat you, how opportunities present themselves, and how the universe seems to arrange circumstances around you. Energy is not about fake positivity or surface level optimism. It's about alignment. It's the internal state you choose to live from, whether that's anxiety and fear or faith and clarity. When you operate from stress, doubt, and panic, you unintentionally invite more situations that mirror that same vibration. You start noticing what's going wrong instead of what's going right. You overthink, overanalyze, and hesitate. You repel opportunities by doubting yourself in subtle but powerful ways. People can feel it. They may not know what it is, but they sense the instability, the fear, the tension, and they respond accordingly. But when you shift into the mindset that things always work out for you, your energy becomes different. You're not pretending to have it all together. You're choosing to believe that life supports you even when things are uncertain. That belief changes your tone, your posture, your timing, and your presence. You move more slowly, more intentionally. You speak with more clarity. You show up to situations with a steadiness that's rare in a world full of rushed, anxious people. And that energy creates a ripple effect. Others trust you more. Doors open more easily. Challenges seem less threatening because you've already decided they're not the end. They're just part of the process. There's a quiet power in someone who walks through storms with peace. That kind of energy isn't loud or dramatic. It's rooted. It comes from the inner decision that no matter what happens, things will somehow turn in your favor. You become less reactive. You don't chase things that aren't meant for you, and you don't force outcomes out of desperation. That calm attracts solutions. It draws in people who want to be around you, who feel safe in your presence, who recognize your confidence, even if they can't explain it. And it's not because you never have bad days. It's because you carry a consistent energy of trust, and that trust becomes your power. When you act as if everything always works out, you begin to notice how your energy precedes your success. You don't wait for a breakthrough to feel worthy. You feel worthy, and then the breakthrough arrives. You don't wait for a compliment to feel valuable. You already know your value, and others reflect it back to you. It's a reversal of how most people live. They wait for life to prove to them that things are working before they relax. But the truth is, when you relax first, when you choose peace and confidence in advance, life begins to mirror that choice. Everything is energy, your mindset, your emotions, your beliefs. They are not just internal ideas. They're frequencies that broadcast outward. And the world, in many subtle and mysterious ways, rearranges itself around those frequencies. When you constantly emit the energy of worry, you magnetize more situations that feed your worry. But when your dominant energy is trust, when you move as if you already know that everything is unfolding for your benefit, you change the entire tone of your existence. You attract more ease, more favor, more alignment, not because life suddenly became easier, but because your energy finally became a match for the life you were meant to live. Life will never be free of setbacks, but the way you interpret them determines whether they become blocks or bridges. Acting as if everything always works out for you doesn't mean setbacks won't happen. It means you start interpreting them differently. You begin to see every rejection, every failure, every unexpected turn, not as the end of something, but as a redirection towards something greater. Most people crumble under pressure because they believe the obstacle means something is wrong. But when you live with the mindset that life is always working in your favor, setbacks stop being threatening. They start becoming information. They guide you instead of defeating you. And something doesn't go as planned, you don't spiral into self-doubt. You ask better questions. You wonder what this delay is protecting you from. You become curious about what door is about to open next. That curiosity is powerful because it keeps your energy moving forward. It keeps your momentum alive. Instead of letting one bad moment take you out of the game, you stay in motion, you adjust, you realign. You stop thinking in terms of loss and start thinking in terms of lessons. And as soon as your mind makes that shift, everything changes. The truth is, most of the greatest breakthroughs in life are hidden behind initial disappointment. Think about it. How many times has something not gone your way only for you to look back months later and realize it was the best thing that could have happened? How many relationships ended only to make space for the one that truly aligned with your soul? How many jobs turned you down only for something far better to appear when you least expected it? But in the moment, it felt like failure. In the moment, it hurt. And that's okay. You're allowed to feel the sting, but don't let it rewrite your story. Acting as if everything works out for you means choosing to see the delay or denial as divine timing. It means training your mind to say, if not this, then something better. That doesn't mean you won't grieve the plan you had. It means you allow space for the possibility that the plan you had was too small, too safe, too limited. And now life is pushing you to stretch, to grow, to aim higher. Setbacks are sometimes just the universe clearing the path of things that don't truly belong in your destiny. And when you live from that belief, your resilience strengthens. You stop being easily shaken. You stop assigning permanent meaning to temporary moments. You stop labeling every detour as a disaster and start seeing them as divine edits. Maybe you were headed in the right direction, but something along the path needed to be adjusted. Maybe the people around you weren't ready. Maybe you weren't ready. Maybe the timing was off. But if you assume that everything still works out for you, even in the mess, you stay aligned with the bigger picture. When you believe in redirection instead of rejection, you open yourself up to guidance. You stop forcing things to happen. You stop begging closed doors to reopen. You let go of what's leaving and trust that what's coming will be greater. That trust creates peace in the waiting. It allows you to keep moving even when the map is unclear. You realize that just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong. Some of the most uncomfortable seasons of your life are actually the most productive ones because they force you to evolve. They stretch you. They strip away the ego, the control, the attachment to how things were supposed to go. And what's left is clarity, wisdom, and the strength to receive something better than you imagined. When you live with the assumption that every setback is a setup, you stop fearing failure, you stop running from change, you welcome it even if it's messy because you know what it leads to. You start trusting that what's falling apart is not punishment. It's preparing you for alignment, for elevation, for the next level that couldn't begin until the old one ended. Each morning is a blank canvas, and how you begin sets the tone for everything that follows. Starting your day with the belief that it's rigged in your favor creates a mental and emotional state that shapes how you handle situations, people, and challenges. Most people wake up already carrying the stress of yesterday or the fear of what might go wrong today. They open their eyes and immediately think about what they don't want to face, what could go wrong, or what might disappoint them. This mindset sends them into the day already on defense, already drained, already bracing for the worst. But when you wake up with the internal declaration that today is working for you, not against you, you immediately shift into a space of empowerment. You start expecting good things. You're open to solutions. You're mentally rehearsing success instead of failure. That doesn't mean everything will be perfect, but it does mean that you're ready to meet whatever comes your way with clarity and strength. You become a magnet for the kind of day you want, not because of wishful thinking, but because your attitude changes how you see and respond to what's in front of you. Your expectations act like filters for your perception. If you expect stress, you'll find it. If you expect delays, you'll interpret small inconveniences as major problems. But if you expect favor, your brain starts to notice things that affirm that belief. Maybe someone holds the door for you. Maybe an email brings unexpected good news. Maybe you handle a difficult conversation with grace you didn't know you had. These might seem like small wins, but they stack up and reinforce your belief that life is on your side. And when you believe that, your energy becomes different. You radiate positivity. You walk into situations with an unshakable calm. You stop reacting with fear and start responding with purpose. People often underestimate the power of morning intentions. They rush into their routines without setting any emotional or mental framework for the day. And so they get tossed around by circumstances, constantly reacting instead of choosing how to respond. But if you take just a few moments in the morning to ground yourself in the belief that things are working for you, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You begin to lead your day instead of being led by it. That belief becomes your compass. It guides your decisions, shapes your reactions, and helps you find meaning even in unexpected moments. This mindset isn't about ignoring reality or pretending problems don't exist. It's about choosing a perspective that empowers you instead of paralyzing you. When you act as if everything is rigged in your favor, even the hard moments carry purpose. You start asking, what can I learn from this? Or how might this benefit me in the long run? Those kinds of questions put you back in control. They transform obstacles into opportunities for growth. They prevent you from spiraling into negativity when things don't go exactly as planned. Waking up with this mindset is like putting on armor before stepping onto the battlefield of life. You're still going to face resistance, but you're prepared. You're grounded. You're focused on possibilities instead of problems. And the beauty of this approach is that the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, it's not just a morning ritual. It becomes your default setting. You don't have to force optimism because it's already built into your mindset. You begin to trust that no matter what the day brings, it's part of something greater that is ultimately unfolding in your favor. That trust fuels your confidence, sharpens your perspective, and makes you unstoppable in the face of uncertainty. Confidence is not born from what you've already accomplished, but from how you carry yourself before the results even show up. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you start walking with a kind of certainty that isn't dependent on external validation. You don't need the promotion to feel worthy of the position. You don't need the applause to know your message matters. You don't need everything to fall into place before you believe that you're on the right path. This kind of confidence is internal. It's chosen. It's a decision you make before there's any physical evidence to support it. And ironically, that's what causes the evidence to start showing up. When you carry yourself as if success is inevitable, your behavior changes. You stop asking for permission to shine. You stop hesitating to take up space. You no longer wait for someone to give you a green light. You give it to yourself. And when people see that kind of self-assurance, they treat you differently. They respond to the energy you bring into the room. People are drawn to those who radiate conviction, not arrogance, but quiet certainty. That kind of presence doesn't shout, it resonates. It moves with a rhythm that says, I know who I am and I trust where I'm going. The problem is most people think confidence is a reward. They believe they'll feel confident once they've achieved something, once they've been approved, once they've been chosen, but waiting for confidence to arrive after the fact keeps you stuck. It keeps you small. It keeps you silent in rooms where your voice could have changed everything. When you reverse the process and choose confidence first, when you walk, speak, and act from the belief that what you desire is already on its way, you begin to embody a version of yourself that can actually receive that outcome. You start showing up as the future you now. This doesn't mean being delusional. It means being intentional. It means understanding that the way you present yourself influences not just how others see you, but how the universe responds to you. When you approach situations with doubt, hesitation, and insecurity, you unconsciously signal to the world that you're not ready. But when you walk into that same situation with the belief that things are already aligning in your favor, you carry a calmness that opens door. That calmness tells others that you're trustworthy, that you belong, that you're already operating at a higher frequency. Confidence born from this mindset is resilient. It doesn't collapse when you hit an obstacle. It doesn't disappear when someone criticizes you. It stands firm because it's rooted in something deeper than results. It's rooted in identity. You're not confident because you've succeeded. You're confident because you've decided to believe in the story you're writing. That belief shows up in how you speak about your dreams, how you handle setbacks, and how you persist when things get uncomfortable. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that don't recognize your value, and instead, you create your own space. Walking in confidence before the evidence is visible is what sets high performers apart from the rest. It's what allows visionaries to build what doesn't yet exist. They see it internally before the world does, and because they believe in it deeply, they act accordingly. Their actions are bold, consistent, and aligned. And over time, the world catches up to their vision. Opportunities begin to match the level of certainty they've been carrying all along. People start offering them the very things they once dreamed of, not because those things suddenly became available, but because their energy finally became aligned with receiving them. You begin to realize that confidence isn't something you find, it's something you build. It's a choice you make each time you show up despite fear. It's the internal decision to walk in the direction of your dreams with your head held high, knowing that everything you're walking toward is already being drawn toward you. Gratitude is not just a reflection of what has happened. It is a declaration of trust in what is yet to come. When you act as if everything always works out for you, you begin to express thanks even before the manifestation appears. You start your day not just acknowledging the blessings you've received, but also the ones that are on their way. This form of gratitude is powerful because it speaks the language of abundance. It tells the universe, I already believe in the good that's coming. And that belief reshapes your perception, your energy, and ultimately, your reality. Most people reserve gratitude for outcomes. When the money comes in, when the relationship works out, when the goal is achieved. But when you wait to be thankful until everything is perfect, you're missing the secret doorway that leads to more blessings. Gratitude is a magnet. It pulls more of what you're thankful for into your life. And when you're grateful for things before they've arrived, you're sending out a signal that you already consider yourself worthy, already expect the best, and already live in alignment with the future you desire. This shift in perspective rewires your entire emotional state. Instead of living in stress, fear, or scarcity, you begin to live in peace, expectancy, and trust. And that shift doesn't just make you feel better, it makes you better. You become more creative, more patient, more open to solutions. Your body relaxes, your mind becomes clearer. You begin to approach life from a grounded place, not because every detail is perfect, but because your internal environment is one of faith and calm. That internal shift has a direct impact on how your external life unfolds. Being grateful in advance requires a decision to see your life as unfolding perfectly, even when the evidence says otherwise. It means choosing to celebrate the process, not just the result. It means saying thank you even when the door hasn't opened yet, because you trust that another one is on the way. This kind of trust does something incredible. It breaks the habit of resistance. You stop pushing against your current situation and instead you begin to flow with it. You stop questioning every delay and start appreciating the timing. You stop complaining about what isn't and start preparing yourself for what's coming. And there's a certain calmness in people who live this way. They don't panic when plans shift. They don't fall apart when things take longer than expected. They've trained themselves to live with a higher perspective. And that perspective sees every moment, pleasant or painful, as part of a bigger picture that is always working for their good. This creates a kind of emotional immunity. Negativity doesn't stick to them the same way. Fear doesn't paralyze them. Even in uncertainty, they feel grounded because their gratitude keeps them focused on what is going right, what is possible, and what is coming. The more you practice gratitude in advance, the more natural it becomes. You begin to build a habit of seeing potential in everything. You start spotting the opportunities hidden inside challenges. You begin to notice how one closed door led to an open window. And instead of living in a state of waiting, you live in a state of receiving. That mindset shift changes your posture from one of lack to one of readiness. You're no longer chasing outcomes with desperation. You're walking toward them with faith. And that faith, reinforced daily by intentional gratitude, becomes the fuel that moves your life forward with power and purpose. Gratitude becomes your anchor. It holds you steady when things feel chaotic. It reminds you that even now, even here, you are already blessed. And from that place of inner abundance, you begin to attract outer abundance, not because you begged for it, but because you believed it was already yours. So now it's your turn to walk like the opportunity is already yours, to talk like the healing has already happened, to show up like the door is already opened, to act as if everything always works out for you, not because you're delusional, but because you're finally living in alignment with truth. Because everything that's ever been thrown at you didn't break you, it built you. Everything you thought was lost was actually leading you to what matters most. And everything you're walking through right now, it's not punishment, it's preparation. So lift your head, straighten your back, exhale the fear, inhale the future, and step forward, not hoping, but knowing it's all working out for you. Every delay, every closed door, every loss, every yes, every no, every maybe, it's all part of it. It's all on purpose, and it's all working exactly as it should. So don't just believe it, live it, own it, walk in it. Because from this moment forward, you're acting as if everything always works out for you. And because you do, it will.